We'll just wait for a couple more people to get here, but as we wait, we'll go through the drill. I am Chef Ben. This is Dinner with Ben. Hello. I'm trying so hard to get your name right. Nastasia. Nastasia? Did I get it right? I'm sorry. Hello, I'm Chef Ben. This is Dinner with Ben, episode 22. Last episode of the year. I guess the last episode of season 1, we could call it. I'm pretty excited. This week, I did it. Nice. This week we'll be making ham and cheese frittata, French toast bread, pudding cups, and fruit salad because it's Christmas brunch. And of course, this is brought to you by Ashworks Cutting Boards, ashworks.ca, and T-North Organic Carbonated Iced Tea. Hello, Cassie. I'm sorry I didn't bring your muffin tin back today. I'll bring it back tomorrow. I know, it's crazy that this is episode 22. That is a long time. I can't even believe it. It's crazy. But yeah, like I said, this is the last episode of the season. Next season is going to look a little bit different. We'll be back on January 7th. We'll be making orange chicken and chow mein, which is cool. We're going to do some Chinese food. I'm going to have a lot more guests. I think I might even ditch the chef cook. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. So, without further ado, let's get going. So the first thing we need to do is oven on 350. Make sure there's nothing in your oven. I always have stuff in my oven, and you probably do too. So, first thing we're going to do today is get the French toast bread pudding going. So to do that, we're going to need to toast some bread. I already have my bread all cubed up, and it's about 6 cups. I can't ditch the code. Oh, maybe we'll keep it then. Yes, Kyla, I will be taking requests for Season 2. I have a few of the episodes mapped out already, but if anybody has any requests, hit me up. I'll even do a post about it and see if anybody has anything specific they want to learn. Yeah. And if you have any people that you'd like to see on the show as guests, you can let me know too, and I'll reach out to them and see if they're interested in coming on. Okay, so I have about 6 cups of cubed up bread here. Hi Barb, this is gluten-free bread. You don't have to use gluten-free bread because it's really expensive, but obviously I need to. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt some butter. We're going to toss this bread with the butter and some icing sugar, and then we're going to toast it up. So essentially we're going to make like a sweet crouton. So I'm just going to take a pot. We're going to take about a 1/4 cup of butter, and we're going to melt it. Just really quickly. Yeah. And then I'm just going to toss it in a bowl. So yes. Steve, can we tell people about what you just showed me, or are we waiting on that, or what are we doing? I might have an announcement. We'll see. I'll wait for Steve to tell me. So we're waiting for the oven to heat up and the butter to melt. I'm just going to pop this bread in here, and again, it's about 6 cups. And we're going to bake these in a muffin tin, so we have nice individualized portions. And while we're doing that, we might as well butter this up. Before we do, I have a big announcement. We now have Chef Ben cutting boards from Ashworks, and they're beautiful, and they have my face on them. And very soon they will be for sale on my website, which is very exciting for me, and I can't say thank you enough to Steve and Donna from Ashworks because they are amazing, and the boards are beautiful, beautiful. So that's the big announcement. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you are too. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a little piece of parchment just to grease up our muffin tins here. Grease these up. So once we get the bread toasting, after our butter melts and our pan heats up, we'll get going on the frittata, which I'm really excited about. I love frittatas, and this one's ham and cheese, which is going to be really good. The only thing is I said fresh thyme on the ingredients list, and I went to the grocery store today, and they did not have fresh thyme, so I'm using dried thyme, which is not My favorite thing. Hi Sue, how are you today? So again, I just had the oven on 350 and I'm just melting some butter. And I have about 6 cups of chopped up bread. So for those of you that just joined us, what Steve just said, you missed my announcement. We now have Chef Ben cutting boards. They're beautiful Ashworks cutting boards, and they have my face on them, and they'll be for sale very, very soon. And I'm very excited about it. Yeah. So I'm just greasing up these muffin tins. And if you do not like bread pudding, then maybe you've just never had really good bread pudding. Because really good bread pudding is very, very, very good. This weekend I did a party at somebody's house, and I did a banana chocolate chip bread pudding. So similar idea, I just made like a bread pudding base, mashed up bananas in it, and put some chocolate chips in it. It was really, really good. Yeah, and the boards with my face on them are maple boards, but they're made by Ashworks. And they're beautiful. I can't wait to show you them because they're amazing. Okay, so butter's melted. Our pan's all greased up. So, next step. We're going to just pour our butter over our bread. Make sure we get all that butter out of there. We're just going to sprinkle about 2 tablespoons of icing sugar. If it's a little more, a little less, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to give this a toss. You don't want it too buttery. The butter is really just there to moisten the bread. Just give it a nice toast. I'm just going to mix this up. It already smells good. Butter and sugar and bread. You can't really go wrong. Now we're just going to take a baking sheet. We're going to spread this out. And you don't need to do this in individual portions. You could easily do this in one big portion, but I like the smaller ones. It's almost like a muffin. Yeah, this is what I prefer, and they cook a lot quicker. So we're just going to pop this in the oven, 350, about 10 to 12 minutes. Set it for 10, we'll check. So I'm just going to use the same bowl, and I realized that I forgot to take some stuff out of the fridge, so I'm going to do that. Hello, Helen. Hello, everybody. So I'm just going to grab some stuff out of the fridge. A lot of stuff, apparently. Okay. I got a haircut today, and there's little hairs all over my ear that are itching me. So, really quickly, we're just going to make up the mixture for the bread pudding. Is this still in the... and all we're going to do is add a cup of whole milk. It's very important to use whole milk and not skim or 2%. It's just not, it doesn't have enough fat in it. So we're going to add half a cup. 1 cup, sorry. So 1 cup of whole milk. I did get a haircut. Thank you for noticing, Steve. We're going to add 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Delicious. And we're going to add 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Because you know it's French toast. Gotta have some maple syrup in there. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to break 4 eggs into here. 1 egg. 2 eggs. Oh, I'm showing off, and I got some shadow in here. No. That's my fault. That's what I get for showing off, everybody. I get eggs. Eggshells all over the place. Okay. 4 eggs. We're going to leave those out because we need them for the frittata. Okay, now to this, we are going to add about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. We're going to add a pinch of cinnamon. And we're going to add a little bit of nutmeg. I'm going to use the fresh grated nutmeg, but you can use powdered stuff. Just be careful because it can be really strong and you don't want too much in here. So if you are using whole nutmeg, just be careful because sometimes the nuts break and you don't want a big chunk of nutmeg in here. Okay, so we don't need much. That was just a big pinch of nutmeg. And we're also going to add just a pinch of salt. Now because we have the maple syrup in here, we're not going to add any sugar. Because we don't really need it. And we might put some maple syrup on once it comes out of the oven anyway. So we're just going to mix this up. You want to make sure this is really nice and mixed. So the cinnamon's all fully incorporated and you don't want any big chunks of egg in here either. It smells amazing. It smells really, really good. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside while our bread's toasting. Just put it over here. And now we're going to get the mix ready for our frittata. So we're going to grab another bowl. Okay, and in this one we're going to add 8 eggs, so the rest of the dozen. 1 egg, 2 eggs. So as I said, this is the last episode of the year. We're going to take some time off, and then I'll be back on January 7th, which is the second Monday in January. The first is New Year's Day. And I'm not going to do a show on New Year's Day because I feel like you guys don't really want to watch one on New Year's Day. But on that first episode back, we're going to be making Chinese food. We'll be making orange chicken and chow mein and probably something else. I'm not sure yet. One other thing might be a good idea. And yeah, there's going to be some changes to the show that I'm excited for. I hope you guys are too. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to Christmas. I hope you guys are too. Or whatever holiday you celebrate. Because it's always exciting. It's an exciting time of year. So now we have 8 eggs in here. And to this we are going to add a ½ cup milk. Whole milk. Let's use this one. So ½ cup whole milk. So I should say, frittata traditionally does not have any dairy in it. But it's way better with dairy in it. Dairy, I mean milk and cream. It usually has cheese in it, but it doesn't generally have milk or cream in it. But it gives it a really nice texture and a really nice flavor, so I prefer to add it in. And if you don't know what a frittata is, essentially it's like, there's 2 ways to think about it. It's either a baked omelet or it's a quiche without a crust. And what I love about it is you can have everything ready. How much? ½ cup? You can have everything ready to go. You can have this all mixed up, ready to go. You can have your ham diced, whatever it is. You can throw anything in here. And then in the morning, you just mix it all up, throw it in a pan, and you don't even need to do it on the stove. You just bake it right in the oven like a cake. And it takes about the same amount of time as a cake of the same size to bake. So it's a really good thing to have kind of in advance, and then you just throw it all together and pop it in the oven. So you can wake up in the morning, you don't really have to think about anything. And that's kind of what I like about all of this stuff. It can all be done ahead and be ready to go in the morning. So you wake up, you know, whether it's on Christmas Day, whether it's on New Year's Day, whenever it is, and you can have brunch pretty much ready to go, other than, you know, finishing something in the oven, which I really like because, let's be honest, you're probably tired. You might be a little hungover if it's New Year's. You never know, right? So anything that you can do in advance is always good for this time of year. And we're going to add half a cup of cream. Did I do that? Yeah, half. Okay. So in here we have 8 eggs, half a cup of cream, half a cup of milk. Okay? And whole milk. Not skim, not 2%. Set that aside and we're going to mix it up. Oh, that bread smells nice and toasty. So we're just going to mix this up. And then that's all we're going to add in here directly. Everything else is going to go in the pan. But like I said, we could just take all the ingredients, lay them in a casserole dish or a cake pan or something, and then bake them in the oven, and it's perfectly fine. But if you do that, lay parchment down or really, really grease the pan. We're going to start this on the stove today. So I just want to make sure I get all those yolks broken up and all the whites mixed in. My wife is in the bedroom wrapping my presents, and she just came out with presents that I can only assume are for me. She's teasing me right now on screen. That's a really good question, Helen. Helen asks if it's the same as 1 cup of half and half. I mean, I guess it would be. That would make sense. I don't really know what the fat content of half and half is, if I'm being honest. Sue, I am going to use a cast iron frying pan for this, so absolutely you can. You want something that you can put in the oven, and cast iron's good for that. Helen, that's a really good question. To be honest, I don't know. I would assume so, but I honestly don't know. So this is nice and mixed up. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside for a minute. And we're going to pull our bread out. Ooh, nice and toasty. So we're just going to take this hot. This thing it works well for a minute, and then it does not work well. Oh, Wendy, we're making, hello Patrick, hello Wendy, we're making frittata, so it's not that different from what you were just eating. So we're making French toast bread pudding. We just toasted the bread, we have eggs and dairy mixed up, and then we just made our mixture for our frittata. Okay. So we'll just set that aside. And we're just going to mix. Oh, that pan made this bowl very, very, very hot. Steve, so Steve says it's between 10.5% and 18%. I'd say that's still a bit too low. No, I get if it's 18%, then it should be okay. But if it's lower than 18%, you're not going to want to use it because it's not going to have enough fat in it. Yes, Kyla asks if there's any vegetables or meats you should avoid in a frittata. That's a great question. Anything with a really high moisture content, like diced tomato, you don't want to add. Like if you want to use tomato, use whole cherry tomatoes, because then you just get like big pockets of wet, mushy. And like if you're going to add spinach or something like that, cook it first. Drain as much liquid out and then add it in. But other than that, I mean, you're pretty safe on most other things, really. There's not really anything that stands out to me other than those that really you don't want to add. So for this, I'm just soaking all the bread, making sure it's all got some egg on it, as you can see. And then we're just going to set this aside and let it sit for like 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. Actually, zucchini is another one. Well, you could add zucchini if you salt it first, which would draw out some of the moisture. So you just take the zucchini, cut it up, add some salt, and let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes in a sieve, and a whole bunch of liquid will drop to the bottom. So I mean, that's the case. I don't really like peppers, like green pepper or red pepper in frittata, but that's more personal preference. Yeah, but anything with a really high water content, you kind of want to avoid. So, like I said, I'm just going to set this aside back here and let that sit. Let that bread absorb a lot of that egg mixture. So, in the meantime, let's get our frittata going. So I'm just going to move this pan out of the way. My sink's filling up with dishes already, but that's okay. So I just have a small 9 or 10 inch cast iron pan. Just going to pop, there's something in the back, it's okay. Just going to pop that on kind of like a medium heat. And we're going to throw some butter. A nice amount of butter in here, probably about 2 tablespoons. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to let this heat up for a minute, and while that's heating up, we're going to dice an onion very quickly. So for those of you who actually like to follow along, in the new year, it's going to be easier for you to follow along. You're going to have guests, and I'm going to walk the guests through the cooking. They're going to do most of the cooking. So it'll actually be more of a one-on-one instruction. So for those of you who like to cook at home, it may be easier for you to do so, because I know that sometimes I go a little fast. It's not by choice, it's just I am a fast cook, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't know. But hopefully in the new year that'll be a lot easier for you guys, because that's what I want. I want you guys to cook along. So, I'm just going to dice this onion real quick. We will compost. Just in there, that's good. So once our butter's melted, which it almost is, we're just going to add the onion in. We'll brown it a little bit, and then we'll add in about a cup of this diced ham. So again, you could have this part all done and ready to go. And actually, frittatas are really good at room temperature or even cold. And traditionally, they'd be the kind of thing, it's an Italian dish, and traditionally be the kind of thing that like an Italian family would make, and they'd take it on a picnic with them or out in the fields working, so they'd eat it at room temperature. And they would have meat and cheese and whatever else in it. They'd just have it with crusty bread or something. I just burnt my finger. I don't know what's going on today. It's the second time I've burnt myself. But that's okay. I'm used to it. Okay, so we're just going to let those onions cook for a minute or two. Yeah. So I know there's a bunch of new people here, so I'm going to say it again. Ashworks has made cutting board for me. It's a maple cutting board. I don't have it yet, but I should have it by the end of the week, I think. And it has my face on it. I'm really excited, and it'll be for sale on my website pretty soon. So I'm very excited about that. And I can't thank you guys enough for doing that. Thank you. So I'm going to add just a touch more butter in here because we want to make sure the edges of the pan are buttered as well. Otherwise the frittata is going to stick, which we definitely don't want. Also, I love the smell of butter and onions. Yeah, I have an olive plant over there actually, but I don't really use it. I've been burning myself a lot over the course of my career. But Sue, you should have an olive plant. That doesn't sound like fun. Burning your thumb on your pan. So once, I think I said once the onions brown a bit, we're not actually going to brown them. We just want them to kind of soften a bit, and then we'll add the ham in. This is going to be a very, very simple frittata. We're not going to go crazy with it. Steve says he fell off a ladder today. Well, it is that time of year. This is like the busiest time of year in emergency rooms, so I feel like we're all just, hurting ourselves for that. Well, that's it. As long as you save the steak, Sue, that's what's important. Fingers will heal. Steak, if it falls on the floor, it's gone. Okay, so I'm going to add about a cup of ham in here. And then we're just going to cook that, heat it up a bit, maybe get a little bit of color on it. And you can see our bread softening. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but I can. I'm just going to give it another mix, make sure everything's getting nice and even. And so the reason why we toasted it and then we're letting it soak is by toasting it, we're actually drawing moisture out of the bread. And then when we put it back in, it has more room to absorb that moisture. So then when you bite into the bread pudding, all these little pieces of bread are going to be like little explosions of custard, which is going to be really, really delicious. So that's why we dry it out a little bit and then let it soak in the liquid, instead of just throwing the bread straight in here. This is a much better method than just throwing the cubed up bread right in here. Oh, ham and onions, this smells so good. So good. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything while we're cooking up some ham and onions? I'm going to need some cheese. Delicious, delicious cheese. And then we'll get the frittata in the oven, we'll get the French toast in the oven, and we're going to throw together a fruit salad. And then we're pretty much done. This is going to be a quick episode, guys. And then we can all enjoy our holidays. Okay, so the ham's nice and hot. I'm going to add the egg mixture in here. We're going to add some salt and pepper. Not too much salt though, because the ham is obviously salty and the cheese is going to be salty. So we want to go very light on the salt. Just a pinch. And because I couldn't find fresh thyme today at the grocery store, I'm just going to use some dried thyme. Not my preference, but that's what I have. And now we're just going to mix this up a little bit. So I'm just scraping off the bottom, making sure that the filling is kind of incorporated through the whole frittata, because you don't want it all just to sink to the bottom. Okay, now we're going to add some cheese in here. So that's about a cup of cheddar cheese. This is old cheddar. Gruyère would be really good in here, which is what I was going to use, but I ran out. I didn't realize. Ooh, good question. If you wanted to use pork belly in your frittata, how should you prepare it? I would slow roast it first. Yeah, I would slow roast it or braise it first, let it cool down, then cube it up. So it'd be like a 2-day process. But that's what I would do. You would want to definitely cook it first. Perfect. So Steve says if anyone wants a Chef Ben signature mirepoix cutting board for a Christmas gift, the pics will be posted on my page later this evening or tomorrow, I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay. So we want to we don't want to cook this all the way on here because it's going to be way too hot. The bottom's going to burn. But we want to start cooking it a little bit before we pop it in the oven. And the reason I'm stirring it is so it's not just cooking on the bottom, and so we're evenly distributing the ingredients, right? I can already tell this is going to be delicious, but I can also already tell it's going to stick real bad. But that's okay. So here's the consistency. I don't know if you can really see, but it almost looks like just really runny scrambled eggs. That's perfect. We're going to pop this in the oven. And we're just going to let that cook. It's going to take 15-20 minutes max. And when it's done, it's still going to have a little bit of jiggle to it. I like a little bit of looseness to my frittata. You might like it a little more cooked, but that's up to you. That's personal preference. But you definitely still want a little bit of jiggle. If it's just a completely firm mass, it's overcooked. It's going to be kind of grainy and just not very good. So now that that's in there, I'm actually just going to take a second and adjust my racks, and then we'll get the bread pudding going. Okay, so next step. Get the bread pudding in the oven. Yes, Kylo, the oven is at 350. Oh my god, this smells so good. I'm very, very, very excited for this. Like I said, so I did this or something similar at a dinner party this weekend that somebody hired me to do. But it was banana chocolate chip bread pudding. So same process, but banana chocolate chip instead of French toast. And I have been craving it ever since, so I'm really excited to make this. And again, this is gluten-free bread, obviously, but you don't have to use gluten-free bread. And we just want to make sure this is all nice and full, and make sure we have a little bit of that egg mixture in each one of the cups. It's not just bread. Even though the bread is obviously full of the egg mixture, we want to make sure it's all kind of custardy and delicious, right? Because nobody wants a dry bread pudding, I can tell you that. I really wish that you guys could smell this, because it smells so freaking good. And I'm just going to pack it down just a little bit, just so we have a bit of firmness to it. We don't want it to all fall apart when we take it out, right? We want it to be one thing of bread pudding, one little cup. So we're just going to spread this out, pat it down a bit. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Check that out. And now we're going to pop this right in the oven. And that is only going to take 10 to 12 minutes. Okay? Let's make some fruit salad. So, first thing we're going to do is make a very quick, simple syrup. Any tips for a really great holiday cocktail? And Steve with cranberries and orange. Whoops, sorry, I missed something here. Brioche, yeah, brioche is a really good bread to use for bread pudding, but I haven't seen any gluten-free brioches. And brioche is super expensive, and so if you can't find it, it's not a big deal, but it's definitely really, really good. Cranberries and orange, really good in this type of thing. Any ideas for a great holiday cocktail? I'm kind of old-fashioned, which is, I didn't even mean to do this, but my favorite drink, whether it's Christmas or not, is an old-fashioned. I really didn't mean to do that. It didn't. But it does have kind of a Christmassy flavor. There's a little bit of orange in it. There's a cherry in it. It's really delicious. So old-fashions are really good. And my old roommate used to make hot chocolate Baileys, and then he would put a candy cane in it, and that was always really good too. So those are my like two go-to kind of holiday cocktails.
Your wife likes red sangria.
And my wife says that she likes red sangria.
Or like mulled wine.
Or mulled wine. Hello, Alan. How are you? Long time no see. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. I would love to see a gluten-free brioche. So thank you, Wendy. Okay, so let's make a really quick simple syrup. Yeah, Bailey's is always good for Christmas. We're just going to do 1/4 cup of sugar. We're going to do about the same in water. And we're just going to bring this to a boil. That's it. Okay? Rachel, are you talking about the J.D. Shore Irish cream or the rum? Because the Irish cream is really, really good and definitely good in coffee, but the rum's good too. Okay. So, we're going to make some fruit salad. So the simple syrup we're going to pour over at the end. These grapes are delicious, by the way. So, this is going to be really quickly done, really simple. So I have about a cup of blueberries and about a cup of raspberries. Oh yeah, the rum's good, for sure. You can use whatever you want, but this is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to pop this in here. It already looks beautiful. Now, we're going to take 2 oranges. These are small navel oranges. I'm going to cut the ends off, just like that. Okay? And then we're going to use our knife, and we're just going to follow the curvature of the orange. And we're going to take just the peel off. We don't want to take too much of the flesh off, just the peel and the pith, which is the white part. Okay? So we're going to do that all the way down. And I know you're thinking, why don't you just peel the orange, Ben? But you'll see in a minute why I don't just peel the orange. There we go, we go, we go. And you just follow the curve of the orange all the way.
Is it important that you sing about it?
It is important that you sing about it. So I'm just going to take that off. And now what we're going to do is what's called segmenting the orange. So, as I'm sure you're all very aware, oranges are in segments, right? So what we're going to do is, if you can see these lines, those white lines, we're going to take our knife and just slice right inside one of those lines. And then we're going to go to the next one and we're going to slice down. And what we're left with is just this, oh God, oh God, sorry, I caught a little bit of my lining. But what we're left with is just this perfect little orange segment with none of that fibrous stuff that in something like this just isn't really that enjoyable to eat. Like when you're just eating an orange, it's fine, but in a fruit salad, it's not the most pleasant thing in the world. So we're going to do that all the way around the orange. And it's really important that you have a sharp knife for this, but I'm not putting any force in it. I mean, it doesn't take much to cut through an orange, because you obviously don't want to force the knife into your hand on the other side. Okay, so we're all the way around, and then we're just going to squeeze this juice right in here, because we don't want to waste it. Hi Laura, how are you? Thanks for joining us. We're going to do the same with the other orange. So top off, bottom off, and then all the way around. And our simple syrup is boiling, and that's okay. We want to cook it down a little bit so it gets nice and thick. But we don't want to cook it too much because we're not making a caramel. So about 2 minutes of boiling is fine. So, oh, I missed the spot. So same thing, just right in between those lines that divide the segments. Oh, that's all right, Laura. What's important is that you're here now. So all we're going to do is cut along these segments and just divide our orange. And I know that this may seem like a lot of work, but I promise it is 100% worth it. Because it really, in a fruit salad, you do not want to be chewing through the fibrous part of the orange. It's just not very much fun. And you can obviously do this with any citrus. You could add some grapefruit segments in here, would be really nice if you like grapefruit. I'm not a huge fan of the stuff, but my wife is. Okay, and again, we're just going to squeeze all that juice out of here. Okay, so the simple syrup is good, but I'm just going to set it aside because we do not want to pour boiling simple syrup into our fruit salad. In the meantime, what we're going to do is add some grapes. Yeah, the orange smells really, really delicious. This fruit salad's going to be killer, by the way. So these are already washed. All of this stuff is already washed. And I got these grapes today at Sobeys, and they're very, very delicious. Nice and sweet. Nice and firm. Really, really good. I'm not actually that great at cutting fruit in a fancy way, like making swans and stuff with apples. That's not really something I know very much about. But what I am going to do is quarter these grapes. The reason being that if we just leave them whole, none of the other flavors are going to get in here. But if we cut them up, then that simple syrup's going to get in here. A little bit of the orange, we're going to add a little bit of lemon in here. That'll get in there. We're going to add a little bit of mint. That'll get in. So it's all going to be really, really nice. If you had put the zest in the simple syrup, would it have burned? No, Wendy. So if we were going to put zest in the simple syrup, I have a second, we'll do this. What I would do, so I'm going to use this lemon as an example. So what I would do is take my peeler and peel it off. And then any white bit that's in here, just take your knife, scrape it out, and then you can just pop that right in there. And it'll boil, it's fine. You'll be drawing the oils out of it, and it'll be perfect. You won't have to worry about it burning. Unless, of course, you make a caramel, and then it'll burn. But what I wouldn't do is grate the zest in there. If you do that, I mean, it's not going to burn, but you're going to have to strain it out. Where this, you can just pick those out pretty easily. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that. It's not going to hurt it, and it's just going to add lemony flavor or citrusy flavor, whatever you want. But yeah, that's what I would say. And I just realized you cannot see my fruit salad. So we're going to move this over here so you can see that. But now you can't see me cutting. Oh my god. Okay, so grapes are almost done. These are seedless, and they are delicious. So, for those of you who are latecomers, I should say that this is the last episode of the year. Last episode of season 1, I guess we could say. It's episode 22, which is crazy. And we will be coming back January 7th, which is the second Monday in January. We will be doing orange chicken, chow mein, and probably one other Chinese thing that I'm not sure about yet. Okay, so we have about a cup of quartered grapes in here. So all told, we have a cup of raspberries, a cup of blueberries, about a cup of quartered grapes, and 2 small segmented oranges. Okay, that's what we have in here so far. Now, I'm going to take just half or like a third of a lemon. I'm going to squeeze that over here. I'm going to give my board a little wipe. And we're going to chop up a little bit of fresh mint. Oh, the rum and brown sugar is a really good idea, Kyle. I didn't even think of that. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I hope that you have an amazing Christmas as well. Wendy says that she hopes you and I have an amazing Christmas, Suze. She said thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to take about 4 mint leaves and just do what's called a chiffonade. So you just roll them up and slice them as thin as you can. And we're just going to... Oh, it smells good. Just going to sprinkle this in here. So this is what we have now. And then we're going to take our simple syrup. We're probably not going to need all of it, so I'm going to pour about half of it over. We'll give it a stir. No, we're going to use it all. Here we're just going to stir this up. And I'm going to put a tiny little pinch of salt in here as well. And that's just kind of, it's going to add a contrast to the sweetness. It's going to make the sweetness kind of pop. And you're not going to notice the salt, but it's really going to intensify the sweetness of the berries, which is going to be really cool. Oh, this looks beautiful. And it tastes absolutely delicious. So there we go. Very, very simple, very quick fruit salad. And our oven dinged, so let's check that out. So, these guys have been in here for about 10 minutes. And if you give them a little push, they're still a tiny bit soft. So I'm going to say about 2 more minutes and they should be good. And if we take a look at our frittata really quickly, hopefully you can see this when I jiggle it, it's still pretty wet in the middle. It's not set, so it still needs some more time. So we're just going to set another 2-minute timer for the bread pudding, and that should be good. Rachel says, in the new year, what if you thought about a kid-friendly menu? My 10-year-old is just getting into cooking with me. Rachel, that's a great idea. And in the not-too-distant future, I have plans to do a second show on Saturday mornings for kids, but I'm not quite there yet. But I would, no problems doing a kids menu on one of these shows, so I'll work that into the schedule for sure. It's a good idea. Thank you. Yeah, so let's plate up this fruit salad. Here. I mean, you could put a little bit of whipped cream on here too if you wanted. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. And this, like, you can put this in the fridge overnight and it's going to be fine. The simple syrup is going to kind of preserve everything a little bit. And obviously you can make more or less depending on how many people you have in your family. You can even just pop a little bit of yogurt on here. Maybe some granola or muesli or something. And you have a beautiful, beautiful smelling fruit salad. So we'll set this aside. Eat a piece of that orange. Yes, I'll put it on the list for the new year, I promise. So the wife has come for some samples. Is it good?
That's really good.
Okay. Let's check these guys out. Okay, I'm going to call these guys done, which is super exciting. They just need to set for a few minutes, and then we can pop some of these out. Put those there. And the frittata's getting there. Probably another 5 to 10 minutes or so. Does anybody have any other questions? Authentic Nova Scotian cultures, cuisines. That's a good question. I mean, I don't really have any experience with Acadian food because I'm not at all Acadian. But I have no problem looking into it. And because I'm going to start having a lot more guests on in the new year, I'm totally cool having somebody on who is Acadian or native who would love to make their traditional foods. That would be awesome. Korean food, no problem. Yeah, but see, I don't really know much about that stuff, but we could figure it out, no problem. And again, if anybody has any ideas for guests that they would like to see on the show, you can either have them reach out to me or let me know and I'll reach out to them, because I would love to have more people on. Helen, we can do a keto episode, that's no problem. We can do all kinds of stuff. So actually, what I'll do, because I can't go back and read all these comments, so what I'll do is I'll actually do a post, probably by the end of the week, on my page, just saying if you have ideas for the new year of what you want to see on the show, just list them here, and then I'll just have them all in one place and I can go through them, because I love all these ideas. Yeah, Nastasia, I would love that. I have no idea about Micmac food, and I would love to know more. So that would be awesome. Yeah, because we have a lot more episodes to come, so we're gonna have a lot of room for guests. Could do a dumpling show. I see that already got a like, so somebody's into that. Somebody else, there's no problem. Yeah, honestly, like whatever you guys want to learn. This is about you, so I'm cool with whatever you want to learn. And maybe next year there might even be a chance to do a live show in your kitchen. Huh? Yeah, maybe there'll be some cool giveaways where I show up with all the gear and we do the show right there in your kitchen and you get a free cooking class. Who knows? We'll see. My wife said, and then she doesn't get to eat the leftovers in a very sad voice. Okay, so I'm gonna, we have a little bit of time, so I'm actually gonna do some whipped cream really quickly. But I'm gonna wash a bowl and a whisk first. Okay, so when you're making whipped cream, you want a really cold bowl, and a lot of people say to put it in the freezer or put it in the fridge. What I like to do is just fill it with cold water and let it sit for a second. So we just put cold water in here and let that sit. You can do that. Rachel says that I can bring you. So we just want the bowl to get cold and then we'll dry it out. Kathy, I thought that was a secret. Okay, so just going to dry this out. Do you have something on the TV or are you just...
Yeah,
oh.
and I have
My wife is staring at the TV, but I didn't realize it was on. I thought she was just staring off into space. Okay. Okay, so we're going to add whipped cream in here. Didn't wash a whisk. Okay, let's whip some cream. Oh, okay. Kathy told me. So we're just going to whip this up to soft heat, so then we'll add our vanilla and some sugar. So that's what I mean by soft peaks. It's still pretty soft. So we're just going to add a touch of vanilla. And a touch powdered sugar. And you know what? Because it's Christmas, we're going to add a touch of brandy in here too. And then we'll whip. Oh, I'm making a mess. I'm making a mess all over the place. Kyle asks if there's any benefit to whipping by hand. There's, first of all, it's I don't have to pull the mixer out to make a tiny little bit of whipped cream. And you burn off a little bit of energy that you're going to get from eating the whipped cream. Right? So if you work it off, then you can eat more of it without feeling guilty. Right? That's how it works.
Do you feel guilty when you whip cream?
I don't feel guilty when I eat whipped cream. I don't feel guilty when I eat any of it. Honestly, Kyle, I just like to do things by hand. I really do. I always have. Even when I used to make bread a lot, I would always need it by hand. I just like to get my hands into things. Personal preference. But if you want to use a mixer to make whipped cream, knock yourself out. Just a little bit more. Beauty. Beautiful. Yep, so you can use regular sugar in whipped cream. A lot of people say not to, but I find that it dissolves. Like, you don't want to use a ton, obviously, but I find that it dissolves pretty quickly, so you don't get like crystallized stuff. Kathy says to tell you to come closer so she can see you. I don't think Suzanne wants to be on camera, Kathy. She does not look like she wants to be on camera.
I was at a party last night.
We had to go to a. We didn't have to. We went to a Christmas party last night. So Suze is not feeling her best today. Oh, Wendy, that's true too. Wendy says that the cornstarch and the icing sugar helps to act as a stabilizer and dissolves faster. It's true, but I've never had any issue using just regular granulated sugar in whipped cream. Never had a problem with it at all. I mean, how long are you holding your whipped cream, right? Like, I don't usually hold it for very long. But, I don't know, maybe you do hold it. Who knows? So, I knew this was going to stick. That's okay. Okay. So we're going to put a little bit of butter on here. We're going to put a little bit of maple syrup on here. And we're going to put a nice little bit of whipped cream. Why? Because it's the holidays, everybody. Because it's the holidays. Now let's give it a try. That was really good. You want to try it? Hi, Kat. You gotta come on camera if you want to eat. No, she won't. Kathy, I'm trying. She won't come on camera.
If that won't make me come on camera, nothing will. Mmm.
It's good?
That's really good. Yeah.
That's real good. So this can be made ahead.
That's really, really good.
You can even cook it, just put it in the fridge, and then just pop it in the oven for like 10 to 15 minutes before you're ready to serve it. If you do that, I would undercook it a little bit, but I would be super happy if someone served me this on Christmas morning or on New Year's Day. Super happy. How does that just sit here and shove it in my face? What?
Yeah, I'd recommend people make that. It's really good.
It's wife recommended.
Could you leave it like overnight in the fridge? Like, could that be like a Christmas morning thing that you make Christmas Eve, throw in the fridge, and then did you just say that?
I literally just said
And
that.
I just wasn't listening.
Yeah.
I was so distracted by how good it tasted.
Okay, let's check our frittata.
Now that you've had dessert.
Now that I've had dessert. Well, it's not really dessert because it's like French toast, right? You're going to have French toast anyway. Why not just have it as a bread pudding? That's my question. Okay, here we go. So, hopefully you can see it's still got a little jiggle, little wiggle, but that's alright. A little jiggle never hurt anybody. And it is definitely done. So, we're going to pop the oven off. I'm going to bring this over here. See? So, oh, that smells delicious too. Guys, I don't know if you know this about me, but I absolutely love breakfast. Love breakfast. So I have a funny feeling this is going to stick to the bottom. I'm going to try and pop it out of here. But we're going to do it anyway. And again, you can do this in a cake pan. You don't need to start it on the oven. You just pop it right in. Or on the stove, rather. You just pop it right in the oven. I just prefer to do it that way. Whoa, guys. So, again, I have a funny feeling this is going to stick. But, yeah, it stuck. But, it still looks delicious. Well, still smells delicious.
Still probably tastes delicious.
We'll just pretend that didn't happen. And what we can do, I'm going to show you a quick trick. I got this from Julia Childs. And now, no one will ever know. See, look how beautiful that looks. It doesn't matter how shitty the bottom looks. It looks beautiful on top. Alright, let's give this bad boy a taste. So before I cut into this, you can let this cool completely. Let it cool to room temperature, and it's perfect to serve like that. Or you can serve it hot. Completely up to you. I actually prefer it at room temperature or even cold in the fridge. So this is another thing. You can bake it the day before, have it in the fridge, serve it cold in the morning, heat it up a little bit in the oven, or just have everything ready, throw it all together, and then bake it in the morning. You know, throw it in the oven for 35-40 minutes, whatever it is, and you're good to go. And it's a really easy way to feed a lot of people because you can make this in really large batches. And whoa, it's gonna be real hot. It's gonna be really hot. Ham, cheese, onion, eggs, and a lot of dairy. You can't really go wrong with that. Delicious. And because we didn't add too much salt, we added just a tiny pinch of salt. We have the salt from the ham and the cheese. It's really well seasoned. Beautiful. Guys, that's it. That's the end. That's the end of the show. We made this beautiful, on one side, frittata. We made this gorgeous, flavorful, aromatic fruit salad, which again will sit in the fridge overnight. And we made this beautiful French toast bread pudding, which I'm probably going to just shove in my face as soon as I turn the camera off. Thank you so much for watching this episode, but not just this episode. I mean, we're 22 episodes in. Thank you to everybody for watching, for the months and months that we've been doing this. I can't believe, how many people tune in every week and watch later. I sincerely appreciate it. And I hope that you're learning from this, because that's the whole idea. So I'll be off for a couple of weeks. We'll be back on January 7th. We'll be doing some Chinese food. We'll probably have some guests. We'll definitely have some guests in the new year. Hopefully we'll have somebody on the first episode. Thank you all so much. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, or whatever it is you celebrate. And check out the new cutting boards, which will be up on my page either tonight or tomorrow. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you so much.